put a kind of like time frame on this. You know, all this church stuff and all this Christian stuff and all this flipping, Christianity and the, as I call it, the bloody Bible, have all been rattling around for like hundreds and hundreds of years. But yes, this whole birth certificate thing has kind of come to be happening in sort of more recent years. This
80,
whole
90 years.
money thing. Right, exactly. So who do you think has actually dreamt this whole scheme up in a planetary way? I mean, for my mind, a lot of this comes from off-planet and, archons and minions of the GOD of religion and all the rest of it. But how do you think this thing got actually started? I do know it's to do with this whole the way how the Federal Reserve started and all of that and all these trusts and stuff. So maybe could you? And also, I've had a question about, do you know anything about the Black Pope and could that be a part of the swindle? So maybe just kind of put a few bits together to do with how this actual part got started. This whole thing you've just really described about how the birth certificate person has been created, taken to DC, all that part, and you've talked about the DNA maybe being in the Smithsonian and the Institute and all of that. So kind of just elaborate on that part a little bit, would you?
Well, I'll kind of move back slowly. Number one, the birth certificate. People need to Google the words certificate of indulgence. Certificate of indulgence is what the birth certificate is. Now, that's one aspect of it. And that was actually created with FDR in the New Deal. FDR in 1933 handed the United States of America over to the Catholic Church. Sacrificed the entirety, the whole thing. Now, did he sacrifice it, or did it already belong to them? I think that it has always belonged to them. In fact, I'm going to just throw something out there, and then I'm going to keep going. The Americas are known, actually, what Christopher Columbus discovered, supposedly in 1492. By the way, everybody's ship did come in 1492. It's called the St. Mary, better known as the Santa Maria. The St. Mary. And that's exactly the Mary I was talking about, the bloodline of Mary. But Christopher Columbus discovered for Spain and for what's known as the Kingdom of Jerusalem. What is the Kingdom of Jerusalem? The Kingdom of Jerusalem is known as the Iberio or Iberian-Americas. Iberian Americas are known as the Latin Catholic Church. The Latin Catholic Church is known as Ibero-America. So Ibero-America is the Latin, known as the Church of the West, as opposed to the Eastern Orthodox or Eastern churches. The Latin Catholic Church is known as the Western. What's interesting about the concept of the West all by itself is when you hear that the sun sets in the West. Well, what happens when the sun sets? What's the next stage of the day?
Dusk.
It's nighttime. It's the lunar aspect. It's when the moon comes out, and that's I'm not going to go down that path, but that's the lunar cult known as the Vatican, or the lunar cult, or the cult of the moon. That's all part of this because the moon is the female. The moon is the female aspect of this cult. So
right.
the lunatics, or the female, is the mitochondrial DNA side of the equation. But I'm not going to go there yet. I'm going to try to bring you back to the idea of what happened with Ibero-America. What is Ibero? So if I say America, and I'm not specific, I'll be honest with everybody here, I don't even know what America is anymore. Because when I discovered the concept of Ibero-America and the fact that the King of Spain still rules over Ibero-America, and when I found out that in 1898 at the Treaty of Paris, after the Spanish-American War, when the United States laid claim to Puerto Rico, and then I find out that Puerto Rico is still subject to the canon law of the Vatican Church because it's part of Ibero-America, the United States, what they got was a place basically where the Jesuits had already laid claim for their Latin Catholic rights. That's RITES.
Mm-hmm.
So the Latin American Ibero-America is Puerto Rico is still subject to that. That's the King of Spain, by the way. The King of Spain still rules over that, and the Vatican still has canon law over that. So all the characters that are still subject to the IRS, the IRS characters are basically born to Puerto Rico. The IRS is down in Puerto Rico. The IRS is a collection agent for for the Catholic community. It has nothing to do with what people think it does. This is about Catholic property. The birth certificate person it's like going into somebody's house, walking into their closet and putting on a coat of theirs and walking out of the house. When you walked into the Catholic Church and you put on the vestment or the clothing of that character, that's their property. This is not about even spiritual stuff. This is pure property issue. Right. You're wearing the clothes of the Catholic Church, and you put on the garb, or you've donned the official capacity of a Catholic priest, so to speak.
Right. By accepting the birth certificate. And
remember, it was an offer that you couldn't refuse because you never knew it existed.
You didn't know you were getting it. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. Yeah.
And so the only way to stay in honor and not to refuse it, and stay in honor at the same time, is to just waive the benefit of it. Again, you don't have to use what they gave you. It's a gift,
right?
But to deny it would actually be dishonorable. But to stay, that's fine. I'm let it be, just like Paul McCartney said in that song. Just let it be. You don't have to use it. Just let it be.